it here. If you guys can be on video, love to have you in video. If you feel like you can't be on video, that's okay. But you're always trying to humanize the experience, especially how we're doing a lot of these Zoom meetings. So I'm super excited to have Joe Cundall from the Cornerstone Group join us today. He's a good friend of mine. Well, play golf together as well, but we got to know each other from business first, and we have some mutual clients together too. And as I got to really know Joe and understand like the value what his company does, and what one of the software that they use with Predictive Index, it has been a game changer for us here at Inthink. It's helped me really empower and utilize the team members, the human capital and the team members of my team. Kelly, who's on this webinar as well, who is our marketing operations manager, that was definitely one of our best hires. Part of that process was utilizing, working with Joe and his team and his software to help us assess and bring on the right people to join our team. And I think especially in today's environment, it's a buyer's market. I mean, there's a lot of great talent out there for businesses to capitalize on, and having Joel, his company and his solution, he'll dive into that. On the flip side, on the business end of it, Joe's going to touch upon too, the strategy side, aligning all the different strategies businesses are doing and making sure the leadership team is aligned with the mission. So we can actually overlay campaigns and strategies that Inthink's doing, that our clients are doing, and utilize Joe's team and his tools. So with that, I'm going to bring it to Joe.
Thank you, Kham. Appreciate that. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. Happy Friday. Rather having me on, not joining me, but inviting me on. So I just like to feel important, right? I've got a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old who remind me daily where I stand on the pecking order at home. So this is like therapy for me. So I'm actually going to pop up a PowerPoint, but it's more to just guide the conversation. So today we're going to focus on sort of an introduction to a concept of what we call talent optimization, and really how you can use that concept and that framework to drive better results from a talent and a strategy perspective in your various organizations. So just for my edification, I usually do this with a little bit of a bigger group, but since Kham and his team know most of you on the call, if you could pop into the chat your name, where you're from, and a fun fact about you. And what I like about fun facts is I learned some interesting stuff about people. So this could literally be anything. What you ate on Cinco de Mayo, what your weekend plans are in terms of something creative you're doing to not go crazy during quarantine. So just take like 30 seconds, pop that into the chat, and I'll go ahead and do the same thing. If I can find the chat, that would help. Oh, it's not letting me do it. Oh, there it is. Okay. And make sure to send it to the whole group. There we go. There you go, Carrie. All right.
We have another martini person in the group. Love it.
All right, Megan. So I'm going to be following up on that background in music, whether it's, instrument, specialty, right, genre, whatever it is. I'm not letting you off the hook on that. That's really cool. Okay. All right. Very good. I love that. Dirty martinis. Yeah, my wife is into the flirtinis, and I got to say, man, those are good. Really, really good. In fact, I never thought I would get myself into Truly, but she's somehow convinced me that that's an acceptable thing to drink. So very, very cool stuff. Actually big. All right, very good. All right, so look, everyone here is in the same boat, right? We're trying to run our businesses. We're trying to stay sane. And we're trying to find new and creative ways to keep ourselves entertained. So you know, what I like about this process is it kind of level sets. You know, we all have a lot of things going on, and why that's so important from a business perspective is, you know, the role that we try and play in our clients' lives is we're here to help. We're here to help you create business impact. And more than anything, you know, we want you to have great business results, but we know that you're all going to get there in different ways, depending on, you know, what your business is like, what your interests are, what you're trying to achieve. So I just want to go into this with sort of the most open possible format, in that, you know, we want you to get a lot out of the session. Hopefully we don't have any technical hiccups. Kham just said, Joe, lean closer to the mic so, you know, we can actually hear you. So check on that. Be as present as you can. This is a great opportunity for you to learn. To the extent you can, I know you got a lot going on. If you can dial into this, you know, silence phone, close email, and chat applications, except for the chat on here, because we want you contributing. And this is highly interactive. So what you put in is what you're going to get out of this. We have a couple different ways for you to participate today. The first is through chat, which we've already done. We're going to do some more of that. We're also going to use something called a Mentimeter. So I'm actually going to ask you to take out your mobile device or another device and weigh in, or just on your desktop if you can kind of toggle back and forth. And then you also have the speak up icon if you want to raise your hand, right? So however you feel you need to weigh in, we've got a lot of different modalities for you to accelerate your learning process today. So when we look at why talent optimization, is so important, I might have just given it away. See, that's what happens when you press the buttons too hard. Talent optimized companies tend to really outperform their competition. We'll get into what talent optimization is in a minute. But when we talk about the concept of talent optimization, by what percentage would you say, and I'd like you to weigh in on the chat here, do companies that are talent optimized outperform their peers by? How much better do you think they perform in general? What percentage would you ballpark that at, if you could guesstimate? I like that, Megan. I like the optimism there. Very good. 80%, 50%. What else do we think? 75. In some cases, that's probably true. Leslie is a little bit closer here. So based on PI's research, it's actually 34% in a recent study of small, mid-sized, and larger organizations that they did. And that's a pretty significant delta. And today I want to explore what might contribute to that. We also find that talent-optimized companies outperform other companies by 16% in terms of strategic success rates, which means they're hitting their strategic goals 16% more efficiently, more effectively, and more often, right? So companies are really setting out to achieve specific goals and performance benchmarks, and when they optimize their talent, they have a much higher percentage chance of getting there. So what is talent optimization, right? When we talk about talent optimization, we're talking about the concept of more closely linking your business strategy with your desired business results. And there are 4 modules all related to talent that can help you get there, right? Design, hire, inspire, and diagnose. Right? So what does that mean, right? Because those are maybe foreign terms to some of you in terms of the business context. The design module with Predictive Index is about alignment. It's about designing very purposefully your business strategy, and then aligning your talent to support that. So it's really designed for senior leadership teams or business unit leadership groups to really, first and foremost, kind of figure out how closely aligned is our talent with our business strategy. The second component of talent optimization is what we call hire, right? How do we get the right people in the right seats, right? How do we align people with the work we're going to be asking them to do? The Inspire module is about really building and fostering great leadership within an organization. That happens at the individual level, it happens at the job level, it happens at the team level, and it happens at the cultural level. So inspiring performance happens on a number of levels, and these tools are designed to help you do that. And lastly, the diagnose component of Predictive Index is a full-fledged engagement platform that is designed to help business leaders better understand where are blind spots in the areas that could drive lower engagement, right? That could drive potentially gaps in business performance and business results, right? So talent optimization is a 4-part discipline designed to help you more closely align your business strategy and your desired business results, where people are the connective tissue. So what I'd like you to do, if you could please, is take out your mobile device, whether that's your phone, tablet, jump on, just to pull up, open another web browser here, and go to a website called www.menti.com. And when you go to menti.com, there's going to be it's going to ask you for the 6-digit code at the top of the screen here. And it's going to take you to a question that I'd like you all to answer if you could. Don't worry, the results are anonymous. And then we're going to view those results together. Again, www.menti.com, and I'm going to have you pop in the 6-digit code. I'm actually going to open a different window so we can look at this together. And be able to see your results populate as they come in, right? So here we go. So again, www.menti.com, pop in that code and answer the question. Okay, so looks like most of you have weighed in. So it's a really interesting set of results here, right? First of all, by a show of hands, or if anyone wants to unmute themselves and weigh in or use the chat, tell me if anyone here has used the Mentimeter before. Or if this is the first time. Okay, Leslie's familiar.
I've used one different provider in another platform, but really nice to have something like this. It's interactive.
Yeah. So for those of you who are making either presentations to large groups or are trying to crowdsource good feedback when you're in a virtual environment, highly suggest taking a look at Mentimeter. Pretty quick and easy, very cost-effective way to source feedback. So, when we put this question out to the group, we learn a lot, right? Because I want this to be about you. I don't want this to be about me. I want to really focus this on what's important to you and your organizations today. And so we sort of had a two-way tie between, are my people aligned with the work I'll be asking them to do, and thinking about, well, hey, how is that going to look 6 months from now, right? How is our business going to transform, and how are we going to define or maybe have to redefine the requirements of certain roles? So I think we could talk a lot about that today. And also, are the business units or teams in my organization built to perform at a high level? A lot of that starts in terms of, getting the right people in the right seats, aligning them with their leaders, ensuring that the team really understands the interpersonal dynamics with each other, right? And then, at the next tier down, we talked about leadership team alignment around strategy, and then, managers having the skills to get the most out of their people. So not as many folks concerned right now about identifying future leaders, but still can definitely talk about that as well. So the good news is, based on everything that you shared here, there are great tools out in the marketplace for you to help pull on these levers more effectively, to help you have to worry less about what's keeping you up at night right now, right? So today, I'm showing you predictive index as a potential solution for that, and how you can think about applying these types of tools to solve for these types of business challenges, because these challenges are real. They're not going to go away. They'll never be completely solved for. But if you can, make this, more of a strength than something that you're necessarily worried about, that can create a real strong advantage for your business. So I'm actually going to go back to the PowerPoint, but I'll also send you all a copy of those results so you can have those on file as well. So when we're talking about talent optimization, we want to make sure that we have a few things straight in terms of how and in what context we should think about it. First of all, this exists within a business context, right? We're trying to align business impact with our applications of these types of tools. Also, we want to understand that it's driven by people data. People data can be really powerful, and it can also be weaponized for purposes that aren't very productive. So we want to really understand what we are learning about people and how it can be useful and applied, and sort of think about what are some best practices and how I would leverage people data to make better decisions and create a stronger and healthier work culture. And it's got to be embraced by leaders at every level. Talent optimization is not something that can sit in a drawer of HR or be hoarded by the senior leadership team, or just be delegated to folks at lower levels of the organization. Talent optimization is something that really needs to be embraced by leaders at every level to have the impact it's designed to have, right? So it's not just about educating senior leadership. It's about identifying, current, future leaders, giving people the requisite skills and understanding to really take these tools and not just embrace them, but use them for business impact. And it's ultimately designed to help you protect against the 4 forces of disengagement, right? So what are those? We talk about engagement, and we think about, what is it that people have to do versus what is it that they want to do. So I view it, when people look at a business through the lens of what do I have to do, that to me is an organization where people are sort of doing the bare minimum. So what I'd like you to do in the chat, if you could, is describe for us in the group, right, what you think are the symptoms of an organization where people are doing the bare minimum. Tell us what that looks like in the chat. I'd be curious to get your feedback. What are the symptoms of an organization where people are doing the bare minimum? Whoops. Not letting you off the hook that easy. What might be one symptom? Someone want to raise their hand, take themselves off mute, and share if typing it in doesn't make as much sense. What might you observe from an organization where people are doing the bare minimum?
If there's not a lot of structure or not a lot of accountability.
Mm-hmm. Definitely challenges with accountability. What else?
I can read some of the answers in the chat, Joe.
Oh, I couldn't see the chat, so that's why. Sorry about that,
No,
Kelly.
no worries. Some of them are no new ideas shared or only shared by top leadership, high absenteeism or low morale, routine and mundane, time management, high turnover, and flat sales.
So that's great. Can you read those last couple again? Because that's really important.
Routine and mundane, time management, high turnover, and flat sales.
High turnover and flat sales. And what do those cost organizations?
Everything.
Yeah, the almighty dollar, right? And those are very real symptoms. So thank you guys for weighing in. I was getting nervous. I'm like, oh, they're not tuning me out this early. No way. I couldn't see the chat come in. I'm like, that was record time for them to be playing like Words with Friends while I'm talking. So my feelings would have been very badly hurt. So thank you, Kelly, for
I'll
weighing
make sure to read them moving forward.
All right, I'm going to rely on you to read them moving forward. And, you know, I know we're laughing about this, but this is also very real. And so what we're trying to help you get to, right, with talent optimization is, on average, right, creating more employee desire for, I want to do more. I want to go above and beyond. I want to be a top contributor. And it doesn't mean people have to want to be a leader. Not everyone wants to be a leader in terms of becoming a manager, becoming part of the executive team. This can just simply mean getting more out of your individual contributors. It can be doing that and creating a stronger bench for future leadership, right? It can be people raising their hands for, you know, it can be people raising their hands to do additional projects. So tell me next, right? What motivates you to go above and beyond? What are some things that motivate you in your organization or maybe in past roles that you've had to do that extra work, to go the extra mile? What actually incentivizes you to do that more than just the money?
Company mission and helping others, a clear strategy and freedom to execute it.
Good, yep. So the mission.
Customer referrals, autonomy.
Yeah, so part of that is how the company communicates its values, its mission. Some of that is how you're managed, right? Some of it is, you know, having a little bit more autonomy and freedom. And all of that maps to, by the way, that's great feedback. There are 4 levers that our research and our observations over time have helped us to understand a little bit more about what you can actually do as business leaders to impact what people want to do versus what they have to do, and driving more discretionary effort. And those 4 levers are the job, the manager, the team, and the culture. And based on what I heard you share, Kelly, a lot of that is baked in there, right? So the feedback from the group's pretty consistent with that. You know, I hear people talking about, well, hey, I need more autonomy. Well, maybe that's built into your role. Maybe that's built into the manager, right? People talk about, hey, the company mission, right? Maybe that's built into the culture, right? These are levers that even in a tough environment like the one we're in now, these are the things you can control, right? And we want to help you stay focused on that. So we're going to talk about the 4 forces of disengagement a little bit. What I would like to do now is walk you through just a little bit of a case study and make it real for you in terms of, you know, how can an organization chart their course to be stronger in these 4 areas using tools like predictive index, right? And again, we're talking about the concept of practicing talent optimization. So I'm going to go all the way to the beginning of the talent optimization journey. So this is actually the initial results for my team at Cornerstone when we completed our strategy assessment back in July or so of 2019. And so the PI strategy assessment was sent to our senior leadership team, and then the rest of our team, because we're small, so we decided to send it to everybody. So we had 12 people weigh in, and we asked our team to select the things that we should most pursue in 2019 and beyond. And I think we assigned the window as like 12 months, right? And we came up with what we call an agreement score of 58, which we thought was okay, but that also let us know that, hey, at 58 out of 100, right, there's some agreement in certain areas, and in certain areas, we need to get more on the same page. The things that really jumped off the page to us were investing in our sales team, driving growth through increased sales and customer retention, implementing structures and procedures to handle the needs of our growing workforce, and then implement new systems or processes. Those were the areas where we had the most agreement. And then there were 16 other areas. Some were in the middle, where maybe half the team wanted to pursue, half didn't, and we ultimately decided we didn't want to pursue. And then there were areas where it was only a couple of people felt like we should pursue, and we gave those folks a chance to weigh in and still ultimately said, hey, these are our strategic priorities and this is what we're going to agree on. But the difference was we were able to do this with more data. And then what we did was we took that data, right, and we took it to another level where we can actually now see, okay, when the purple bars, right, these are our strategic commitments and our allocation to them. And there are 4 strategic quadrants that we can operate in. And if you look here, you'll see that stabilizing and producing were our 3 biggest strategic commitment zones, so to speak, and a little bit in cultivating, right? Nothing in exploring, right? And what that told us was we need to focus on taking our products we've already designed and our services we've already designed and really bringing those to market with more effectiveness. But we also needed to put more systems and processes in place because our team is a bunch of freewheeling cowboys that don't do the details very well. And we needed to provide some organization and structure because we weren't going to be able to grow and develop as a business if we didn't put some of those things in place. And we also had, because we had grown our team from, I think like 7 or 8 to 12 in the course of 12 months to match our growth, we also had to make a commitment to cultivating, which was about teamwork, employee experience, and development in a way that in the past we had probably done ad hoc, but not with a lot of professional direction and guidance. So this was very telling for us. The next thing we did was we overlaid the predictive index behavioral assessment results of our team, which are represented by the blue bars here. And that really helped us understand, okay, well, what kind of horsepower is it going to take us to get there? How do we align with our strategic mission? And we found out we had a couple fits and a couple really big gaps, right? The fits were in the producing department. We feel like, we have more than enough horsepower to get ourselves to the point where we can really push the tempo and grow the business. And we had just enough firepower in the cultivating department to match our strategic goals. So we can look at those 2 areas and say, okay, we have achieved some level of alignment there. So we can go forward in those areas with a lot of confidence with the team we currently have today. But in the exploring and stabilizing areas, we're way out of whack. In the stabilizing bucket, we have a large need, right, to put systems and processes in place to anchor the business and force us to be more efficient. Well, guess what? We have like 1 person on the team who's built to do that. And asking her to do all that work, she's probably going to get burnt out, and a lot of stuff is going to fall through the cracks, right? So what we need to do is think about how do we add more firepower there so that we can streamline our organization in a way that's going to help us achieve our goals. The other area where we're actually way out of whack is more around how do we manage and regulate ourselves, and that's in the exploring bucket. We have a lot of people on our team who have a propensity to want to come up with new content and new ideas all the time. And we had a period of time where that was really critical to our success. And we're not right now in a period where even end of 2019, we recognized we were not in a period where we should be creating more content, or we should be creating more, it was more about new products. We always want to create content from a thought leadership standpoint, but we didn't need to create new products at the time, right? And we have a lot of people who are built to do that. So we need to really rein ourselves in when we get away from the producing and stabilizing, and we try to resort to the exploring work, because we are an exploring heavy team. So those are two areas where we recognize right away we need to be more mindful. And we were also able to take it down to an individual level using these tools and say, okay, which one of the folks on our team are really built to do, this kind of work, right? I should have put myself in there, but I didn't do that. I captured a lot of the other folks on the team instead, but this also gives us a really good insight into who on the team we can ask to do what kind of work. So if we look at the stabilizing bucket, we can pretty clearly see that Pam, and to some extent Amy, are the only two people on the team who are really built to do that kind of work. They're going to carry a pretty heavy burden unless we add some firepower to the team. And we also know that everyone on the team, for the most part, is built to explore. And we're all, for the most part, going to have to rein that in for a little while when it comes to new product development. We really need to focus our energy on producing and cultivating. So this gives us an idea of how to delegate that work thoughtfully. And then we have what we call a talent blueprint, which allows us for each strategic priority to say, okay, here are the objectives, here are the business results we desire as a team, and here is who's going to be personally responsible. And this can actually live in the software, so we can always go back into it and say, on a project management basis, if, let's say like one of my clients is working with someone like Kham, and they're using, a project management tool like Asana, right? They can kind of double check back in on something like predictive index and say, okay, Kelly's been assigned XYZ project, right? But let's make sure we map all the way back to what was our strategic priority driving that, so we can continue to reinforce why that's so important and hold the team and hold individuals accountable to that work. So that's really the first part of the mission. The next, really phase one of executing the strategy for us is alignment, right? So I just put an example in here. Let's say we're hiring an account executive, right? Well, before we start sending out behavioral assessments and cognitive assessments to our candidates, we want to really define what does that job target need to look like. And we have some tools in the toolkit to help us do that. We can pull in the behavioral assessment results of top performers and try to replicate that. We can also send another assessment called the job assessment to stakeholders and ask them to weigh in on their perspective. These would be people who kind of have a clear understanding of the role for behavioral and cognitive ability. And then once we have that bullseye built, right, which was carefully built and purposefully built, now I can start the process of selection, right? I can leverage something called the PI interview guide. So now I've got Joe, and here is a candidate, and I recognize, hey, Joe's got a lot of great skills, maybe had a lot of success in another organization, but I need to know if he's a really good fit here for this role based on our strategy that we've defined and what we're going to be asking him to do every day. And I can clearly see, hey, Joe fits in a couple areas where, if you look at his profile, which is represented by the A, B, C, and D, the 4 behavioral drives, I can see that Joe's really strong fit for extroversion, because that orange box that calls for him to be more sociable, he's got higher than average extroversion. The average is that middle line there in the graph. So I know that he's got, pretty close to the right amount of need to work with and through other people. And he also has low patience, the C drive, which means he's more driving and urgent. He needs to move at a faster than average pace, so does the position. So he's a match. Where I see that he may not be as much of a match behaviorally, right, is on the dominance drive, which is the A drive. This is a role that calls for someone who's a little bit, has a stronger need to have an individual influence on the outcome. And Joe is more collaborative by nature. He's more of a team-focused guy in terms of his natural needs and drives. So I immediately get a lens into, where do I need to focus my interview questions? I need to probe for self-awareness. I need to probe for skills Joe has developed. And I need to make a more informed decision of, if I put Joe in a role where maybe he's got some of the DNA, but not all of what we're looking for in terms of like the natural fit and style, he could have the most skills in the world, but he's going to be behaving in a way every day that gets him away from his natural behavior. And if he can't modify and sustain that modification, I'm taking a huge risk asking him to do that work every day. And this may not be the right fit. So I need to really be surgical in the interview process to see if there's enough in the other areas that Joe can borrow from every day to do this role well. Well, let's say we do move ahead with Joe, right? Because we're confident that, hey, Joe's got great self-awareness. He's developed good skills to be a little bit more assertive with customers, ask tougher sales questions, push back on objections. He's got a demonstrable track record of sales success. All right, well, now it's about onboarding, right, and coaching. The journey doesn't end when you make a hiring decision. I think a lot of organizations make the mistake of, well, if I hire a lot of really great and smart people, the rest will take care of itself, and that is often not the case. So the next phase of the journey, right, is how do I get Joe onboarded and really coach him up? One of the tools our clients leverage is something called the Management Strategy Guide, and we can hand this to a manager and say, going back to those 4 levels of disengagement, right, the manager, the person who has the most control over or the most influence over your success. Well, I can give the manager a checklist of things that Joe really needs from his work environment to be successful. And I can also hand the manager, he or she, a coaching guide that is actually designed to help them better understand where the fits and gaps are between the employee and the requirements of the position. So I can give my manager better tools to onboard faster and coach more effectively, right? So I've kind of hit the job checkpoint, right? I've hit the manager checkpoint. Well, what about the team? Because if I hire Joe, he's a good fit for the role. I hire Joe and I give Joe's manager the tools to be successful. Joe still has to fit in with the team, right? So we have a tool called Team Work Styles that helps us better understand, hey, what type of strategic environment are people most comfortable in, and how can they potentially align well? Where might they butt heads a little bit? Where can their styles complement each other? And we want to make sure we consider this level of fit before we just airdrop Joe into a team. So A, the team can better understand how to support Joe and vice versa. And B, we can go into this with our eyes wide open. We see it all the time. Great fit for the job, really loves the manager, but not a fit with the team. It could be the team isn't a good fit with them, right? It can be really a two-way street, but we want to make sure we check that box before making a hiring decision, because the first 2 can be in alignment. If this one's out of whack, there's still a lot of risk. And then lastly, we want to leverage the diagnose component of the platform to measure engagement, right? Once we feel like, hey, we've got the right person in the right seat, they're in good sync with their manager, they're really strongly aligned with their team, we need to periodically check in on the health of that, because what happens over time is the environment shifts and changes no more than it has ever maybe in the last 2 months. What kind of blind spots have developed, right? That I may not see as a business leader. And we want to measure those same metrics. The job, the manager, people, organization is synonymous with team and culture. And we want to not only score that out, but then we want to look at specific areas that are driving either those higher or lower scores. So let's say in one of the areas, right, one of the things the engagement platform measures as a blind spot is when conflicts arise, the people I work with resolve it respectfully and quickly. if I'm being told that that's 20 out of 100 in my organization, that should be like a red alert alarm to me as a business leader, that that's a cancer that is only going to metastasize every single day before I address it, right? But this allows me to say, all right, I'm not guessing at this. My people are telling me this is a problem, and now we want to take action to fix it, right? So we can use these same tools to go back, examine the root cause of that, and course correct going forward. Which again takes us full circle in our journey for talent optimization. So again, design is about getting more alignment around your strategy and your team. It can be done at the leadership team level, at a business unit level. The higher tools are about using people data to get the right people in the right seats, but understanding that it's not just about behavioral fit. It's not just about cognitive fit. This has to be inserted as a part of the hiring process. It should never become a proxy for the hiring process, right? These tools are designed to inform it so leaders can make better, more informed decisions. And then the Inspire tools are about keeping people engaged, people feeling connected to the job, the manager, the team, the culture. And Diagnose helps you measure all that at any given point to make sure that you're aware of any blind spots. And you also have the ability to accentuate your strengths that you've developed within your culture. So I would say for anyone on the call, that feels like there may be any gaps that emerge between your leadership team and your strategy in terms of talent. Anyone who feels like maybe they're missing one or some of these 4 factors when you're making hiring decisions in terms of the fit level. Anyone feels like your leaders may benefit from becoming more self-aware about their style and how they can manage and coach others, or that you've developed potential blind spots, especially the last couple months, which has been very difficult environment to control. I would love to jump on a Zoom call, explore that together one-on-one. If you feel like this is a concept that you could share with someone else in your ecosystem. I think Kham can attest to this. Our style is we never ask anyone to make a business commitment to working with us until we've actually helped them solve a real business problem. So we are constantly open to kind of proving it out, right? Before we ask you to make that commitment by letting you test drive the tools, and we'll dive into that kind of scope of business with you and go from there. So that's all I have in terms of content. I'm happy to open it up to any questions anyone on the call has.
We did have one comment come in from Megan, and she said, my big fear about making my first hire is that I'll be a micromanager.
Okay. Yeah. So, Megan, first of all, that's a self-aware comment for sure.
That's what Josh said too.
Yeah.
Josh calls. He called me on it immediately.
He would. Well, and what's interesting is these tools are designed to help you better understand your own leadership style. Once someone has completed the PI behavioral assessment, we have a dashboard of tools that populates, and one of them is called a manager development chart. And it's actually for you to look at what is my leadership style, what are the strengths, what are the gaps, and that if you can own that a little more, it allows you to empathize with the needs of others. So I'd say that, tools like this, as you grow and develop your business, could have a lot of value simply from the standpoint of becoming a stronger leader, and creating, more empathy and better interpersonal relationships with your
well,
team.
It's funny because empathy is actually usually my strongest point, sometimes to my detriment. So it's an interesting conundrum that I have going with it.
Yeah, and it's not an easy thing to master. No. But the more you're tied into your own leadership style, you can always anchor yourself to that, and that allows you a little more flexibility when it comes to meeting people halfway.
Awesome.
Any other questions from the group?
I have a question.
Sure, Kelly.
With the 4 factors of disengagement, have you seen that one of them tends to, like, what's the right word? I guess cause more problems than other ones, or have a stronger pull than other ones, if that makes sense?
So I'm going to give you the anecdotal response, and then I'll give you the research-driven response. So we can have a healthy balance here. They both map back to the same thing. Which one do you think here typically makes the biggest impact?
I want to say the job or the culture. That's what I'm torn between, I think.
So it's actually the manager.
My third choice, Joe.
That's okay, Kelly. That's all right. You were brave enough to put it out there, so I appreciate it. And if you think about it from a very practical standpoint, first of all, PI does a lot of self-awareness studies among CEOs and other people in the PI ecosystem. PI has about 10,000 client companies across the globe that are supported by a network of just under 100 or so companies like Cornerstone. So we work with about 170 client companies today, mostly small, middle market, 50 to 500 employees is sort of like our wheelhouse, right? And so we're often working with senior leadership, and when we ask them, where you see the biggest blind spot in your organization talent-wise, they almost always say our leaders are not very strong. And they're also doing exit interviews with people where they're, doing engagement studies, and they're hearing, hey, our leaders need to be better. Because the manager has the most levers they can pull. The first lever the manager can pull is making better hiring decisions and being honest about, this person might be a rock star. Are they going to be a rock star here, right? Are they going to fit in with the job? Are they going to fit in with me? Are they going to fit in with the team? One of the bravest decisions a manager can make is to take someone who their gut told them would be really great, and a lot of other data pointed to this might not be the best fit for them, and had the discipline to wait it out till they found someone with a higher level of fit. Those that do tend to encounter a quicker path to success on a per hire basis. And the other side of it is managers that are self-aware of their own leadership style tend to be able to navigate these other things when they're out of whack much more effectively.
That makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's a great question. And I think it's only going to get more exposed and exacerbated in whatever this new normal is, because you have a lot more people working remote. You're going to have a lot more teams that need to connect virtually. And you're going to have a lot more people who, and I appreciate Megan throwing yourself out there, are going to develop a propensity to micromanage, because it's really hard to foster trust between human beings when you have less interpersonal interaction, like face-to-face. So people are going to have to find a way to accelerate that trust, and it's going to start with better understanding their leadership style and how to leverage it.
And Joe and I have been looped into a lot of like transformational business discussions with other businesses because of this, like working remote, also optimizing my current team or bringing on new team members. So like, I mean, what we've seen and what PI does for businesses is just incredible. I mean, local businesses that are small can use this. And then there's even like some of the fastest SaaS, which is like software as a service companies, some of the fastest digital software companies use this too. And it's amazing. No, it's it's a tool, and it's a tool you can have as a business owner, as a leader, as an HR person, as a manager, that can really kind of like level you up and give you insight. Because we all love information. We all love data. We want to make decisions based on objective data. And that's where some people may have, well, Joe, maybe you can speak to this real quick, right? People may be, I don't believe this, or I've done this, or I've done, give us some examples of other popular, similar tools or products or competitors. But like, if you can speak to that, because I'm sure folks who may watch this later, that's what's going through their heads. And we've encountered this too in conversations when we were engaging folks until they actually saw the difference.
So I'm happy to do that, Kham. And look, there are a lot of assessment tools out there. There are a lot of options for you to choose from, and some are a better fit for certain types of businesses and business owners because their objectives are different. Where I think Predictive Index shines and where I think it really differentiates itself is in a couple areas. And this is relative to any competitors. It's more about the business case. It's available on a software as a service platform, and our clients own the data. So they actually take the tools in-house as opposed to having to call us up and have us administer assessments, right? We do a great deal of work to train and educate and empower our clients to become PI experts and use the tools independently with our continued support. And they're not judgmental. They're very prescriptive. They're much more about what the root cause of a business problem is, as opposed to telling people what they can and can't do. I think some of the challenges people have with assessment tools is they're either too black and white or they put people in a box, right? So I had a client that was using an assessment tool. They've been a client for 3 years now, financial services firm in New York City. And they were basically using a tool that was like go, no go, hire, don't hire. It was very black and white based on certain criteria. They liked how quick and easy it was, but what they found doing a look back was they were missing out on some pretty good people, and they were onboarding some people who maybe they weren't judging or looking for the right criteria. And what they liked about PI was it gave them certain degrees of freedom, but it also set really strong expectations of, hey, the further you go outside those degrees of freedom, here's how your business risk increases. Here's how you manage around that, right? Here's how you prepare yourself. Other organizations have said, well, hey, we're really big into, being able to use these tools independently. And, they weren't getting that from some of their other assessment providers just because the software platform wasn't nearly as efficient. So Predictive Index received a major infusion last year from a company called General Catalyst, who's a major tech investor. And 2/3 of that has gone to continuing to invest in the PI platform to roll out the tools like Design, Diagnose, and a lot of the other tools they're going to continue to roll out. So, I think from an ease of use, I think from a business impact standpoint, the tools really set themselves apart. And, the thing is, at the end of the day, like I said before, our offer to anyone is tell us about a business challenge you're having today, and we'll come in and help you at no cost, really try to diagnose what the root cause of that is. And more often than not, we find that when they start to apply the PI tools in a way that really helps them understand the root cause, it gives them more confidence that, hey, in the future, this is going to create a lot of impact for me, and it's going to give me a much clearer path forward, not just for this challenge, but for other challenges I may encounter. So hopefully that answers your question. And I know we're up against it for time. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. Yeah, let's do a time check for everybody. So hopefully, you guys got a lot of information here. Feel free to reach out to us after the fact. This is recorded. And Joe, how can people reach out to you and connect with you?
Yeah. So I literally.
We will share you the information too via email.
Yeah. So I'll just pop pop this up on the screen here, you know, and kind of pull it up. It's just my email signature. So if anyone wants to take a quick screen snap, but we'll follow up. But so it's basically 508-340-1247 is my direct, and Joe at the Cornerstone Group Inc.com is my email handle. So again, we'll follow up with that. I really appreciate everyone's time and energy today. And, you know, thank you guys for your commitment, your time, and happy Friday. Have a great weekend. Go do all those kick-ass things you said you were going to do in the chat. I'm kind of jealous, you know, rock climbing, rock and roll, you know, dirty martinis. I got to really step my game up this weekend. So,
well, Joe, thank you so much. Your insight is amazing. And, you know, we're probably going to have you on for other sessions too. So, and I really appreciate everyone that you guys come back. I love to see the similar faces, because we know how important every minute of your day is. And the fact that you come and you're developing yourself from a knowledge and really building yourself as a better professional, but also as a better leader. Kudos to you. So until next time, looking forward to you guys on our next session. All right, cheers.
Thank you, Kham, Kelly, Megan, Leslie. Everyone have an awesome weekend.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.